Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling a giant, really getting into the weeds of F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby, chapter by chapter, first half.
And it's the kind of book where you have to get into the weeds because, everything we see, everything we feel, it's all coming through one specific filter. Nick Carraway.
Exactly. So our goal here is to be your guides, almost like literary detectives, pulling out the richest character details, the geography, the key moments from those early chapters. We want you to understand this world from the ground up.
And that means starting where Fitzgerald starts with Nick's perspective. His voice is everything. He tells us right up front about his tendency to reserve all judgments.
Which sounds noble, right? Like he's going to be this detached, objective observer.
It does. He mentions his father's advice, about remembering not everyone had his advantages. So he cultivates this tolerance. But, and this is crucial, he almost immediately says, look, that tolerance, it has a limit.
So he's setting himself up for a moral reckoning from the very beginning. He's not just observing, he's eventually going to judge.
Precisely. He's drawn into this world, but he already senses he's going to recoil from it.
Yeah.
He talks about wanting the world at moral attention. But then comes the big exception, the one person he pulls out from that judgment.
Gatsby,
the central puzzle. The man whose actions on the surface seem the most questionable. But Nick exempts him. He sees something else there.
Not just a shady millionaire?
No, something more. He says Gatsby had this extraordinary gift for hope, a romantic readiness, unlike anyone else. It's this quality that Nick holds on to, framing Gatsby's story not just as a crime story, but as this deeply American tragedy about a dream crashing into reality.
Okay, let's pin down Nick himself before we get to the setting. Who is this guy filtering everything for us?
Well, he's solidly Middle Western, comes from a fairly well-to-do family, Yale graduate, class of 1915. He's come east, specifically to New York in 1922 to get into the bond business. Post-war restlessness, maybe.
Feels like it. And he ends up in a pretty symbolic location.
Oh, absolutely. He rents this $80 a month bungalow, calls it a weather-beaten cardboard bungalow, and it's literally squeezed between these colossal mansions in West Egg, his little place next to Gatsby's enormous imitation French palace. The contrast is immediate.
Right. That takes us straight into Chapter 1, establishing the setting and the West Egg mystery. The geography itself is coded. Long Island Sound, these two eggs.
Yeah, West Egg and East Egg. Fitzgerald uses them brilliantly. They're separated by this bay, a courtesy bay, he calls it, but the divide is anything but courteous, really. It's a social canyon.
West Egg being the home of the new money.
Exactly. The nouveau riche, people like Gatsby who made their fortunes quickly, maybe not entirely conventionally. It's flashy, energetic, but seen as less refined. Across the bay is East Egg. That's where the old aristocracy lives.
The inherited wealth, the established families.
Right. The white palaces, as Nick describes them. People like the Buchanans. Their money has history, generations of it. And that difference, West versus East, new versus old, it drives so much of the novel's tension.
So let's meet the Buchanans then. Residents in the East Egg. Tom first. He makes quite an impression.
He does. Physically imposing. Nick describes him, sturdy, straw-haired man of 30, hard mouth, supercilious manner. Arrogant right off the bat. But it's the physicality Nick stresses, enormous power, a cruel body.
Like brute force contained, barely.
Yes, and there's this sense that his life peaked too early. He was a huge football star at Yale, one of the most powerful ends. But that was years ago. Now he's restless, immensely wealthy, brought a whole string of polo ponies east, just like that, and sort of adrift, always seeking some kind of dramatic turbulence.
And Daisy. She's presented almost ethereally at first, isn't she?
She is, in that white dress, seeming to float. But her defining characteristic is her voice. Nick is captivated by it. A low, thrilling voice, he says. It has this singing compulsion. Sounds like it's full of excitement, promises.
But there's a calculation there, too.
Nick picks up on it quickly. He notes her murmur, how it's designed only to make people lean toward her. It's a performance. Charm is a tool, maybe even a weapon. She uses this air of unthoughtful sadness to keep people at a distance, you could say.
The whole scene at their house feels charged, doesn't it? Those restless white curtains.
Yeah.
But the real reveal, the key event of Chapter 1 happens during that dinner.
Oh, definitely. That dinner party cracks the facade wide open. First, the phone rings persistently. And Jordan Baker, who we'll get to, casually drops the bomb. Tom's got some woman in New York, his mistress.
And Tom's reaction isn't shame, it's aggression.
It's deflection and aggression. He pivots immediately into this bizarre, frankly racist rant, starts talking about this book he's reading, The Rise of the Colored Empires.
Right, the Goddard book.
Yeah. And he goes off about how the dominant race, the Nordics, his race, are being threatened, going to be utterly submerged. It's ugly stuff. Shows his intellectual insecurity, his need to assert dominance, using this, pseudoscientific racism that was unfortunately quite current then.
It paints a really dark picture of him, beyond just being physically imposing. And Daisy's response to all this, her line about her daughter, is just devastating.
It really is. It may be the most revealing thing she says. She tells Nick what she wished for her daughter when she was born. I hope she'll be a fool. That's the best thing a girl can be in this world, a beautiful little fool.
Right.
It's pure cynicism. She sees the constraints of her world, especially for women, and decides ignorance and beauty are the only paths to survival, or maybe just comfort, within that system ruled by men like Tom. She's resigned to it.
And the fourth person there is Jordan Baker.
Yeah.
The golfer. What's her initial role?
Jordan's interesting. Nick first sees her just lying on the couch, almost motionless, balancing something. She's slender, athletic, in training. She seems detached, observing the Buchanan drama with this hearty skepticism. But she's also the one who immediately shares the gossip about Tom's mistress.
So an observer, but maybe not entirely neutral.
Not neutral at all. She's part of this world, uses its information. We'll see more of her carelessness later.
Chapter 1 ends with Nick back in West Egg, and he finally sees his neighbor, the first glimpse of Gatsby.
And it's such an iconic image. Pitch black night. Nick sees this figure standing alone on the lawn looking out across the water. Gatsby.
And he's doing something specific, isn't he?
He's stretching his arms out towards the water, towards a single point of light in the distance. Nick notes he seems to be trembling. It's incredibly purposeful, intense.
The green light.
The single green light. Minute and far away, Nick says, probably at the end of a dock. We later learn it is Daisy's dock, directly across the bay in East Egg. This image immediately transforms Gatsby. He's not just a rich neighbor. He's this figure of intense longing, reaching for something impossibly distant. It perfectly captures that romantic readiness.
A powerful setup. But all that glamour has a dark underside. Section 2, Chapter 2 and 3 takes us there, right? To the Valley of Ashes. The parties.
Exactly. You can't understand the eggs without understanding the Valley of Ashes. Chapter 2 is like this mandatory detour into the grim reality propping up the wealth. It lies between West Egg and the city.
And it sounds truly awful. Not just poor, but desolate.
Oh, it is. Fitzgerald paints this picture of a place where ashes grow like wheat. It's literally the dumping ground for the city's industrial waste. Gray, powdery, suffocating. It's a symbol of the moral and environmental decay hidden beneath the surface of the Roaring Twenties glamour.
And those eyes watching over it all.
Ah, yes. The eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg. Huge blue eyes on a fading billboard peering out through giant yellow spectacles. They're just an old advertisement for an oculist, long forgotten.
But they feel like more.
They take on this immense symbolic weight, like the eyes of God, or maybe a forgotten, indifferent God just brooding over this wasteland, watching the moral failures unfold below. They see everything.
And it's in this valley we meet the Wilsons. George, the garage owner.
George is almost part of the landscape. Covered in ash, blonde, spiritless man, anemic, completely unaware of his wife Myrtle's affair with Tom. He thinks she goes to the city to see her sister. He's passive, faded, almost invisible next to Tom's vitality.
But Myrtle is the opposite. She's bursting with life, desperate to escape.
Completely. Nick describes her as having this immense vitality. Even though she's faintly stout, she just walks right through her husband as if he were a ghost. She's desperate for something more, something richer, and Tom represents that escape, that access to a different world, even if it's just in a cramped city apartment.
And when she gets to that apartment, she changes, doesn't she? Puts on airs.
Instantly. She changes her dress, this cream-colored chiffon, and her whole personality shifts. Nick calls it an impressive hauteur. She starts ordering people around, talking down about the lower orders, adopting the mannerisms she thinks belong to the wealthy. It's a performance, a desperate attempt to inhabit that other life.
The key event in Chapter 2 really exposes the brutality beneath Tom's smooth facade happening right there in that apartment party.
It's shocking, raw. The party gets drinking loud. Myrtle, fueled by alcohol and resentment, starts taunting Tom by repeating Daisy's name. Daisy, 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 over and over.
She's crossing a line he's drawn.
A line he absolutely enforces. He warns her to stop. She doesn't. And then, with what Nick calls a short, deft movement, Tom hits her. breaks her nose with his open hand.
Just like that.
Just like that. It's brutal, sudden. It shows his physical power, yes, but also his utter contempt and the lack of consequences. He assaults his mistress, and the party, after a brief pause, essentially continues. It really cements Tom as a dangerous, entitled figure.
It's a stark contrast to the glittering world of Gatsby's parties we see in Chapter 3.
The transition is jarring, isn't it? Back to West Egg, to Gatsby's Blue Gardens. The scale is intentionally overwhelming. Music everywhere. Servants, crates of oranges arriving, Rolls-Royce shuttle. Men and girls came and went like moths, Nick says. Constant motion, constant spectacle.
And Nick stands out because he was actually invited. Most people just show up.
Yeah, that's the thing. Gatsby's famous, his parties are legendary, but he himself is almost invisible. Nobody seems to really know him, which leads to all the wild rumors.
Right, the speculation. He killed someone, he was a spy.
Killed a man, German spy during the war, nephew to Kaiser Wilhelm. You name it. It's romantic speculation, fueled by the sheer mystery of his sudden immense wealth. In West Egg, where money appears almost magically, these kinds of fantastic stories take root easily.
But Nick does find one clue about the nature of this spectacle in the library.
The library scene. Crucial detail. Nick wanders in, finds this drunk guest with huge glasses. They call him Owl Eyes, marveling at the books.
Because they're real books.
Exactly. Owl Eyes is amazed. Absolutely real, have pages and everything. He expected them to be cardboard fakes. But then comes the reveal.
The pages haven't been cut.
The pages are uncut, meaning nobody has ever actually read them. The library, like everything else, is a prop. It's perfectly crafted stage dressing for the role of wealthy gentleman that Gatsby is playing. It confirms the whole thing is a meticulously constructed facade.
And the main event of Chapter 3. Nick finally meets the man himself. What's Gatsby like in person?
It happens quite casually. Nick is talking to a man he doesn't recognize. Turns out it is Gatsby. About his age, seems familiar, maybe from the war. And then, the smile.
The famous Gatsby smile.
Nick describes it so vividly. It wasn't just a smile, it concentrated on you with an irresistible prejudice in your favor. It understood you, believed in you, assured you. It's this incredibly powerful, possibly practiced charm. It completely wins Nick over, momentarily.
But their conversation gets cut short because Jordan Baker gets summoned.
Yes, Gatsby needs to speak to Jordan privately. A little mystery planted there, the significance of which we only learn later. But after the party, Nick reflects more on Jordan.
He starts dating her, but he remembers some gossip.
Yeah, he recalls hearing she cheated in a golf tournament, moved her ball, and he concludes she's fundamentally dishonest, incurably dishonest. He notes she avoids smart, shrewd men because her dishonesty might be detected. She prefers to operate where everyone assumes honesty.
And she has that line about driving, which feels like it sums up half the book's themes.
It really does. Her famous quote, "It takes two to make an accident." She basically argues that her carelessness is fine because other people will be careful and watch out for her.
Which is exactly the attitude of Tom and Daisy.
Precisely. It's the philosophy of the privileged and careless. They expect the world to accommodate their recklessness, and they believe their wealth absolves them of responsibility when things go wrong. Someone else will clean up the mess.
This really sets the stage for Section 3, Chapters 4 and 5, where the facade starts to crack and we see the emotional cost. Chapter 4 kicks off with that guest list.
Right, Nick actually lists them out. It's like an inventory of the jazz age elite, or at least those drawn to Gatsby's orbit. You have the snooty East Egg types, the black bucks, the leeches rubbing shoulders with Broadway figures, movie people, gamblers.
But pretty shady characters in there, too.
Definitely. Names like James B., Rotgut Ferret, and G. Earl Muldoon, who afterwards strangled his wife. It paints a picture of this morally ambiguous, almost grotesque mix of people, all drawn by Gatsby's wealth, yet knowing almost nothing about him.
Gatsby seems aware of Nick's potential judgment, though. He tries to sell Nick a very specific version of his life story.
Oh, absolutely. During a drive into the city, Gatsby suddenly launches into this prepared narrative. Son of wealthy Midwesterners, all dead now. Educated at Oxford, as he says it. Lived like a Raja in Europe, collected jewels, rubies mostly. War hero, major, decorated by Montenegro.
It sounds almost too perfect. Too rehearsed.
It does, and Nick is immediately suspicious, especially when Gatsby says his wealthy family was from the Middle West and then specifies San Francisco.
Yeah, that's a bit of a giveaway.
A major geographical flub. Nick catches it right away. Gatsby tries to recover, realizing he's choked on the lie. But then he does something clever. He produces physical proof.
The medal and the photo.
Exactly. The medal from Montenegro, or Deri di Danilo, inscription and all. And a photograph from Oxford showing him with a cricket bat alongside some recognizable aristocratic types like the Earl of Doncaster. And for Nick, seeing these tangible objects somehow makes the story feel momentarily real. It overrides his logical skepticism, shows the power of a good prop.
And then at lunch, we meet the source of the money, or at least a major connection. Meyer Wolfsheim.
Wolfsheim, what a character. Small Jewish man described with a sort of flat nose. Gatsby introduces him as a gambler. And the first unforgettable detail, his cufflinks.
Human molars.
Finest specimens of human molars, Wolfsheim boasts. It's grotesque, immediately signaling we're in a different, much darker world than polo ponies and white palaces. But the truly crucial detail is his history.
The World Series fix.
Gatsby casually mentions Wolfsheim as the man who fixed the World Series back in 1919. This blows Nick away the idea that one man could corrupt something so huge, the national pastime, for profit. It definitively connects Gatsby's fortune to organized crime. This is the non-olfactory money we talked about.
Explain that again. Non-olfactory. Smells wrong.
Sort of. Old money, like Tom Buchanan's, has been around so long, passed through generations, laundered through legitimate institutions, that it doesn't smell suspicious anymore. It's accepted. Gatsby's money is too new, too sudden, and clearly linked to illegal activities like bootlegging and gambling via Wolfsheim. It smells wrong. It lacks the odor of legitimacy that East Egg demands.
Okay. And the key event of Chapter 4 is Jordan finally explaining why. Why the parties, why the mansion, why everything.
Finally, the pieces click into place. Jordan tells Nick the story. Goes back to 1917, Louisville. She knew Daisy Fay back then. Daisy, 18, beautiful, popular, was madly in love with a young officer stationed there, Lieutenant J. Gatsby.
Before the war separated them.
Yes. Gatsby went overseas. Daisy promised to wait, but the social pressure, her family, it was too much. Then Tom Buchanan arrived, wealthy, established, suitable.
With a very expensive string of pearls.
$350,000 worth. A tangible symbol of the security he offered. Jordan reveals that the night before the wedding, Daisy got drunk, clutched a letter, presumably Gatsby's last plea, and cried, saying she'd changed her mind. But her mother and Jordan calmed her down, put her in a cold bath. She married Tom the next day.
And Gatsby.
Gatsby, after the war and making his fortune, deliberately bought that specific mansion in West Egg for one reason only, because it was directly across the bay from Daisy. The green light was on her dock, all the parties, the spectacle, it was all just an elaborate lure hoping to catch her attention.
So his request to Nick is incredibly simple after all that.
Almost anticlimactic. All he wants is for Nick to invite Daisy to his cottage for tea. Casually, so Gatsby can just happen to drop by. The whole colossal effort boils down to engineering one awkward afternoon tea.
Which brings us to Chapter 5, the awkward reunion. Gatsby is understandably a wreck beforehand.
Oh, completely manic. He has Nick's lawn cut, sends over masses of flowers, enough to fill the small house. He has his own house lit up like Coney Island. Looks like the World's Fair, Nick jokes. When Daisy is about to arrive, Gatsby is panicked, pale as death. Looks like he hasn't slept.
And the initial meeting is as awkward as you'd expect. There's that moment with the clock.
Yes. It's so symbolic. Gatsby, leaning back awkwardly against the mantelpiece, nearly knocks Nick's old clock off. He catches it, flustered, with trembling fingers. It's this perfect little metaphor for his whole project, trying desperately, clumsily to stop time, to rewind it, to recapture the past.
Things only start to thaw when he takes them over to his house, right? The grand tour, especially the shirts.
The tour is all about displaying the sheer scale of his wealth. Period rooms, the swimming pool, the grounds. But the emotional peak is in his bedroom when he starts pulling out his shirts. Dozens of them. Silk, linen, flannel, imported from England.
Piles and piles of them.
He throws them onto the bed in these colorful stacks. Thin stripes, bold plaids, lavender, coral. And Daisy's reaction is the absolute key event of Chapter 5.
She starts crying.
Sobbing. Buries her head in the shirts and cries, "They're such beautiful shirts. It makes me sad because I've never seen such beautiful shirts before."
What is she really crying about? It's not just the shirts, surely.
No, of course not. She's crying for the lost possibility. She's overwhelmed by the tangible evidence of the success, the status, the wealth Gatsby has achieved for her. It represents the life she could have had with him, the life she gave up for Tom's stable, old money world. She's mourning the choice she made 5 years ago, confronted with the dazzling proof of what she missed.
And after that emotional peak, what happens to the green light? The symbol of his dream.
Its power evaporates. Later, Gatsby points it out across the bay, saying, "You always have a green light that burns all night at the end of your dock." But then he realizes its colossal significance has vanished. Now that Daisy is here, physically present, the symbol is redundant. The dream, now tangible, is somehow less enchanting. It's just a light on a dock. His count of enchanted objects has diminished.
The chapter ends with another reminder of where Gatsby's money comes from, though. He tries to pull Nick into his business.
Yeah, it's a slightly clumsy, awkward moment. He offers Nick a chance to make some money, hints at some confidential sort of thing he's involved in, mentions the drug business and oil business, assures Nick it wouldn't involve Wolfsheim directly.
Nick turns him down flat.
Immediately. It reinforces Nick's moral discomfort with Gatsby's methods, even as he's drawn to the man's personality. But it also confirms Gatsby's ongoing involvement in shady, likely illegal enterprises. The dream is built on a very unstable foundation.
That instability becomes crucial as we move into Section 4, Chapters 6 and 7. This is where the past catches up and everything boils over. Chapter 6 finally gives us the real Gatsby origin story.
Yes, the facade is stripped away. Nick reveals the truth he's learned. Jay Gatsby was born James Gatz on a farm in North Dakota. His parents were shiftless and unsuccessful farm people. The persona of Jay Gatsby was an invention created by the 17-year-old James Gatz when he saw his chance to escape that life. He essentially sprang from his own platonic conception of himself.
And Dan Cody was the catalyst for that escape.
Dan Cody was the mentor figure. Gatz wrote out to warn Cody, a millionaire prospector, about a storm on Lake Superior. Cody took him on, hiring him as a sort of steward, mate, secretary on his yacht for 5 years. Gatz saw wealth, saw the world, but also saw Cody's alcoholism destroy him.
Which is why Gatsby himself doesn't drink.
Exactly. He learned that lesson firsthand. Cody tried to leave Gatz $25,000 in his will, but Cody's mistress, Ella Kay, managed to legally cheat him out of it. So Gatz inherited the education and wealth and ambition, but not the actual money. He had to build the fortune himself later.
Chapter 6 also sees Tom Buchanan return, and his suspicion of Gatsby hardens into outright hostility.
Tom visits Gatsby's house with Daisy and some snooty friends, the Sloanes. He is immediately condescending, challenging Gatsby about how he knows them, questioning his background. Later, Tom and Daisy attend one of Gatsby's parties, and Daisy is clearly uncomfortable, even appalled by the raw energy and perceived vulgarity of West Egg.
She doesn't like it.
Not at all. It lacks the restraint and inherited codes of East Egg. Tom sees her reaction, sees her fascination with Gatsby, and becomes determined to find out where Gatsby's money really comes from. He lands on bootlegger.
So the key event in Chapter 6 isn't a confrontation, but Gatsby revealing his ultimate impossible goal to Nick.
Precisely. After that disastrous party, Gatsby is distraught that Daisy didn't understand or enjoy it. He confesses his true aim to Nick. It's not enough for Daisy to love him now. He needs her to erase the past. He wants her to go to Tom and say, "I never loved you."
He wants to wipe the slate clean.
Completely. And then he says they can go back to Louisville to her parents' house and get married just as if it were 5 years ago. He genuinely believes he can repeat the past.
When Nick tells him he can't.
Gatsby rejects it vehemently. Can't repeat the past. Why? Of course you can. He's clinging to this idea that he can recapture not just Daisy, but the idealized moment, the feeling, the idea of himself that existed when he first loved her. It's a dangerous delusion, setting him up for the inevitable collision with reality in Chapter 7.
Chapter 7, the boiling point.
Yeah.
The hottest day of the summer, and the tension is just unbearable.
You can feel it on the page. The heat is oppressive, mirroring the emotional pressure. Gatsby has fired his regular staff, replacing them with shady types connected to Wolfsheim, supposedly to prevent gossip about Daisy's now frequent afternoon visits.
The affair is basically out in the open, at least between them.
At the Buchanan's house that afternoon, it becomes undeniable. Daisy kisses Gatsby, tells him he looks so cool, says, "You resemble the advertisement of the man," right in front of Tom, essentially.
And Tom sees it. He knows.
He sees it, the uh-oh moment, and he decides then and there to force a confrontation. His suggestion they all go to town, to the Plaza Hotel, isn't casual, it's calculated.
And the car swap is part of that calculation.
Yeah.
Tom driving Gatsby's yellow car.
Absolutely. Tom insists on taking Gatsby's ostentatious yellow car, putting Gatsby and Daisy together in his own more conservative blue coupe. It's a power play asserting dominance over Gatsby's symbol of wealth, while pushing Daisy towards her lover, confident he can win her back.
They stop for gas at Wilson's garage in the Valley of Ashes. A fateful stop.
Incredibly fateful. George Wilson looks physically sick, desperate. He tells Tom he's found out something about Myrtle and needs money to take her away west. He knows she has a secret life.
And Myrtle sees them, but makes a crucial mistake.
She looks down from the window, sees the yellow car she associates with Tom, but sees Jordan Baker in the passenger seat. She assumes Jordan is Tom's wife, Daisy. Her face is filled with jealous rage and terror. It's a fatal misidentification.
Then comes the showdown at the plaza, the main event.
The air conditioning isn't working. The room is stifling. Tom drops the pretense immediately. He goes after Gatsby's Oxford man claim, forcing the admission it was only a brief post-armistice program. Then he goes for the kill, revealing what he's found out about Gatsby's business.
The bootlegging.
Selling grain alcohol over the counter in drug stores he owns. He calls Gatsby a common swindler, connects him directly to Wolfsheim and his illegal activities. He lays Gatsby's low origins and criminal enterprise bare for Daisy to see.
Forcing Daisy to finally choose.
Gatsby demands it. Tell him you never loved him. But Tom pushes back, reminding Daisy of their shared history, intimate moments. Not at Kapiolani. And Daisy breaks. She can't do it. "Oh, you want too much," she cries. "I love you now. Isn't that enough? I did love him once, but I loved you too."
She loved them both. The dream collapses.
Utterly. Her admission destroys Gatsby's idealized vision. Tom, sensing victory, contemptuously tells Gatsby to drive Daisy home in the yellow car, letting them stew in the failure of their affair. He's won. He drives back with Nick and Jordan.
Which leads directly to the chapter's horrific climax, the key event.
As Tom, Nick, and Jordan drive through the Valley of Ashes later, they come upon a chaotic scene. A car has struck and killed Myrtle Wilson. Michaelis, a neighbor, saw it happen. It was a big yellow car, didn't even stop.
Gatsby's car.
Gatsby's car. Myrtle, having argued with George and run out into the road, perhaps towards the yellow car she still thought Tom was driving, was hit instantly. Her body is horribly mangled. Her life violently extinguished, Nick says. The contrast between her vibrant life and sudden brutal death is sickening.
The chapter ends with Nick seeing Tom and Daisy back at their house. A chilling image.
Nick finds Gatsby lurking outside, keeping watch. Gatsby confesses Daisy was driving, lost her nerve, swerved into Myrtle, but he's going to take the blame. Then Nick looks in the window and sees Tom and Daisy sitting together at the kitchen table over cold chicken and ale. They look like they're conspiring, sharing an unmistakable air of natural intimacy. They've already retreated back into their shared world, their fortress of wealth and carelessness, leaving Gatsby literally out in the cold.
Devastating. Which brings us to the final section, Section 5, Chapters 8 and 9, the conclusion of the dream. Gatsby is still waiting, hoping.
Even after seeing Tom and Daisy reconciled, Gatsby can't let go. Nick stays with him through the night, urges him to leave, go away before the car is traced, but Gatsby refuses. He has to know what Daisy will do. He clings to that last sliver of hope. And that night, he tells Nick the rest of his story, how he first met Daisy, pretended to be from the same social background, how her wealth itself was part of her allure. Her voice was full of money.
Meanwhile, George Wilson is falling apart.
Completely. His neighbor Michaelis tries to comfort him, but Wilson is inconsolable, talking about God. He finds the expensive dog leash Tom bought for Myrtle, confirming his suspicions of an affair with a wealthy man. He looks out at the eyes of Dr. K.J. Eckelberg on the billboard.
And sees them as God.
Yes. He tells Michaelis, God knows what you've been doing. God sees everything. But the eyes he's looking at are Eckelberg's. It fuels this righteous, vengeful quest. He connects the yellow car to the man who ruined his life, and by morning, he's gone, hunting for the owner.
The key event of Chapter 8 is the tragic, inevitable outcome of that hunt.
Death in the pool. Gatsby, who hadn't used his pool all summer, decides to take one last swim before closing it for the season. He's floating on an air mattress, perhaps still waiting for Daisy's call. Wilson tracks him down, finds him there, shoots him, and then kills himself. Gatsby dies alone, murdered for a crime he didn't commit, protecting a woman who had already abandoned him. The final image Nick gives us is the mattress drifting, leaving that thin red circle in the water.
Chapter 9 deals with the aftermath. The silence is deafening, isn't it?
The silence and the abandonment. It's swift and total. Tom and Daisy. Gone. Packed up, left no forwarding address, just vanished back into their money. Gatsby's business associates. Wolfsheim refuses to come to the funeral, can't get mixed up in it. All those party guests, none appear.
Except for Klipspringer, the boarder.
Klipspringer calls, yes, but only to ask if someone can send him his tennis shoes he left behind. It's the ultimate symbol of how transactional and shallow all those connections were.
But someone does show up. Gatsby's father.
Henry C. Gatz. He arrives from Minnesota, this solemn old man, very helpless and dismayed. He's proud of his son's success in his own way, but clearly overwhelmed, and he provides the final piece of the puzzle about Gatsby's origins.
The book. Hopalong Cassidy.
He shows Nick this old, worn copy, and inside, on the flyleaf, is young James Gats's schedule, written down when he was a boy. It's a detailed plan for self-improvement. Rise from bed 6 a.m., dumbbell exercise, study electricity, work, baseball and sports, practice elocution, study needed inventions, and resolves like no wasting time, no more smoking or chewing, save $3 per week.
It shows where that discipline came from. He wasn't born into it. He willed himself into being Gatsby.
Exactly. It reveals the earnest, almost Franklin-esque self-discipline that was the bedrock of the Gatsby persona. The American dream of self-invention right there in a boy's diary.
The key event of the final chapter has to be the funeral itself, notable for who isn't there.
It's heartbreakingly empty. Nick, Mr. Gats, the Lutheran minister, a few servants, and then right at the end, Owl Eyes shows up, the man from the library. He's stunned by the emptiness, looks around the graveyard and delivers that famous, pitiful epitaph. The poor son of a bitch. That's it. The man who threw the biggest parties is buried almost entirely alone.
Nick needs closure after this. He has to confront Jordan, and finally, Tom.
His reserve all judgments phase is definitively over. He breaks things off with Jordan. She, ironically, accuses him of being careless, implies she's already moved on. Nick acknowledges his own complicity, perhaps, feeling too old to lie to myself and call it honor.
And the confrontation with Tom.
He bumps into Tom on Fifth Avenue months later. Tom is completely unrepentant. He admits he was the one who told Wilson that Gatsby owned the yellow car. He felt entirely justified, he says. Claims Gatsby had it coming, calling him a coward who ran over Myrtle like you'd run over a dog. Tom sees himself as the wronged party, the protector of his home.
No remorse. No sense of responsibility.
None whatsoever. And seeing this final, unshakable carelessness allows Nick to deliver his ultimate verdict on Tom and Daisy. They were careless people, he concludes, people who smashed up things and creatures and then retreated back into their money or their vast carelessness and let other people clean up the mess they had made.
That's the final judgment. He started by reserving judgment, but the experience forced his hand.
Yeah, it did. And Nick connects it back to their origins. He realizes they were all fundamentally Westerners, Tom, Daisy, Jordan, Gatsby himself. Transplanted to the East, they lacked the ingrained moral compass, or perhaps the East corrupted it. The established rules didn't seem to apply, especially when shielded by immense wealth.
The East allowed that carelessness to fester.
It provided the environment for it, and it ultimately destroyed Gatsby, whose Western dream, however flawed and built on lies, had a kind of intense, hopeful sincerity that couldn't survive that cynical Eastern atmosphere.
Fitzgerald leaves us with that final, haunting image connecting Gatsby's personal tragedy to something larger, more universal.
That closing paragraph is legendary. Nick reflects on Gatsby's unwavering faith in that green light, calling it the orgiastic future that year by year recedes before us. Gatsby failed. The dream was unreachable, corrupted perhaps, but his belief in it, his striving towards it, represents something fundamental about human aspiration.
The struggle against the current.
So we beat on, boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past. We keep reaching for that future, that green light, even as time, history, and our own natures pull us back.
It's an incredibly powerful ending. So thinking about that relentless driving, that boat against the current, the provocative thought we want to leave you with is this. What distant green light are you still beating toward, even as the current pulls you back?